This semester, I am teaching a class at the university that is literally the most important class these students will ever take. Now, I'm sure that every professor says the same thing, from the chemistry teacher to from the underwater basket weaving professor. But my class is actually the most important. It's called The Search for Happiness. And it's most important because it deals with what is the true goal of every single action. Every action is done to achieve happiness. Every class at its root is the search for happiness. Why do people study nursing? They want to take care of people. Why? They want to feel good about themselves. Why? Because they want to be happy. Why do people study business? They want to make cash money. Well, why do they want cash money? They want security. Why? Because they want happiness. Everything is done to achieve happiness. So my class, it gets to the very heart of everything. How do you be happy? Therefore, it's the most important class, and my students ought not to sleep during my class. That's why people are approaching Jesus today. They have this deep desire for happiness, and Christ tells them, this is what it takes to be happy. He tells them the Beatitudes. Who is truly blessed? Who is truly happy? And what did you notice? That everything seemed backwards. If I told you the way to be happy was to be poor, hungry, abused, meek, persecuted, you would say, well, no thanks. That's just so countercultural to our world. But to be fair, the norm for our world is depressed, overweight, and lonely. So perhaps we need some more countercultural thinking and listen to the one who made the human heart. At the top of the list of what brings happiness, Christ says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit." The number one thing that brings happiness is having a spirit of poverty. Now, what is poverty? It's not just being frugal and a cheapskate. It's not even refusing to allow our hearts to be dominated by material goods. It's not just saying, I'm so detached from the world, look at all the dents in my car. These are all a part of poverty, but it goes deeper. Poverty is when we have this deep sense of our own innate value, that we don't connect our value to any earthly good because everything comes directly from God. The spirit of poverty is when we see everything as a gift. In poverty, it has no moderation. It's like love. You never say, I'm loved enough, thank you, I'm good to go. Doesn't make sense because you can always grow. You can't say, I have enough poverty because you can always grow deeper in this reality. Because poverty primarily is not physical. It's more about that interior reality. Not attachment from earthly goods. That's just the visible element of attachment from self. It's a sign that points to real humility. Giving up things is just the tip of the iceberg. The whole point of poverty is not to be detached from things, but to be detached from self. Everything I have, everything I am, is a gift. I can give it to the Lord because it's not mine. It's not my talents, not my possessions, not my ideas, not my energy. It's all a gift. It all belongs to God. And that's what poverty is. When you see someone that has this spirit of poverty most fully, it's not someone that does not spend any money, but someone who is absolutely and overwhelmingly generous with self. The spirit of poverty is this self-emptying, lived out in a life that radically unleashes love to God and neighbor. A self-emptying that's been purified and elevated. Because ultimately, it's the same self-emptying spirit of Christ. The essence of holiness is becoming more and more like Jesus. And Christ had this spirit of poverty. And if you do not have the spirit of poverty, you do not have the spirit of Christ. If you do not have the spirit of poverty, you do not have the spirit of Christ. If you need help being poor, I'll happily take all your money. But that's not what poverty is. Because the vast majority of Christians are not called to sell all their goods. The owning things is in the spirit of poverty when everything is seen as a gift given to us and a gift meant for others. Everything I have has been submitted to the mission of God and used for the purposes of God. The fundamental aspect of poverty is not having things, but being able to receive everything that God wants to give you. If I am too full of myself, if I am too full of this world, I can't receive God's blessings. But when I'm totally free and full of the spirit of poverty, I'm free to radically receive all that God wishes for me to have. I receive the kingdom of heaven. And what does this look like? For each vocation, poverty looks different. I heard a talk that said that the life of St. Francis demonstrated a more radical material poverty than Jesus. That Jesus owned a seamless garment. Francis owned a ratty potato sack. That Jesus had people who took care of him and gave him shelter. Francis slept on the ground in a cave. But they both had this spirit of poverty. They both saw all things as a gift and all things given to the Lord. Poverty is what unleashes love. Because when you see things as a gift, you're more able to give them away. That Christ, having the fullest divinity, the fullest humanity, gave it away. He sacrificed himself on the cross to the Father. An essential element of sacrifice is not pain or suffering, but the ability to let go, to give, to offer. That Christ on the cross offered himself totally unto God the Father. And that's the poverty we're all called to enter into. That I belong to God, and I'm transformed into this eternal offering back to God. The Christian life is not racking up good deeds, but this self-emptying of the will, allowing God's will to more fully guide me. But if we don't have the spirit of poverty, we don't have the spirit of Christ. And poverty is not denouncing goods as evil, but to accept all things as a gift given to me for permission that I receive from God and freely give to God and neighbor. And the spirit of poverty is the first step towards happiness. We'll talk more about the second step towards happiness next week. For now, I have 2 tips about how to live the spirit of poverty. Tip 1. Have you ever heard of the Litany of Humility? It was written by some big shot cardinal who was Secretary of State in the Vatican, so second in command of the whole church. After every Mass, with all the grandeur and pomp and circumstances of Rome, he'd pray the Litany of Humility. Keep him grounded, keep him in the spirit of poverty. It goes like this. Jesus, meek and humble of heart, hear me. For the desire of being esteemed, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being loved, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being extolled, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being honored, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being praised, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being preferred to others, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being consulted, deliver me, Jesus. From the desire of being approved, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being humiliated, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being despised, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of suffering rebukes, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being calumniated, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being forgotten, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being ridiculed, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being wronged, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being suspected, deliver me, Jesus. Others may be loved more than I. Jesus, grant me the grace to desire it. Others may be esteemed more than I. Jesus, grant me the grace to desire it. In the opinion of the world, others may increase and I may decrease. Jesus, grant me the grace to desire it. Others may be chosen and I set aside. Jesus, grant me the grace to desire it. that others may be preferred to me in everything. Jesus, grant me the grace to desire it. That others may become holier than I, provided I become as holy as I ought to. Jesus, grant me the grace to desire it. This prayer is pretty hardcore, but it's this absolute spirit of poverty that's the path to happiness. That I only need God's love. And everything else is a distraction. You can find this on Google by typing in Litany of Humility. And tip 2, ask this week, where can I become more poor? Where can I empty my heart to receive from God more fully? Again, if you need someone to take your money, I'll take it from you if you insist. I'll bet it all at the Super Bowl on what color the Gatorade will be. But letting go of physical things helps the heart to let go of spiritual things. You can only receive if your heart is empty. You can only receive if your heart has space to receive things. Well, this week ask, where can I become more poor? And where can I receive more purely from the font of God's love? If you want to be happy, you must learn how to be poor. To see all things as a gift given to you by God. And to receive these things as a gift. And to be happy in God alone. God bless.